Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Black Hole Podcast entitled Femme Party, which is also the title of a book I've written, and I'm reading that book chapter by chapter, episode by episode for Season 2. Today we'll be reading Chapter 9, and before I begin reading, I always like to precursor by saying any profit or money raised through this book will be used to start a technology company similar to the one proposed in the book and to build a solar farm in my hometown. So you can find the book by searching Femme Party on Amazon Kindle, or go to either of my websites, mitch4mayor.com, that's Mitch the number 4mayor.com, or plotm.com, that's plot the letter m.com. So let's get started. Lucy Lowe is in her office at the municipal building in Oil City. She is looking at toy squirt guns for her son on the Zen 10 website. As she scrolls through the marketplace, she finds a myriad toy guns for kids. She clicks on one of the squirt guns and it takes her to the manufacturer's page. She notices there are a plethora of replacement parts available for the gun at a decent price and multiple videos connected to that manufacturer's page that show how to repair that model. The phone on her desk rings. Lucy says, "Hello, this is the mayor." Angelina says, "It's Angelina. Have you read this USA Today article?" Lucy says, "I read it and I love it. Mitch is way ahead in the polls. I think he's going to win." Angelina says, "Do you think there are enough men secure in their masculinity in that city to really agree with that article?" Lucy says, "The demographics are changing daily. Who knows? Time will tell. How are the new speed limit signs Mitch developed with Carnegie Mellon University?" Angelina says, "They are working great. Anyone going more than 5 miles above the limit gets a fine, and the money goes directly to the EV fund. We worked out a system where Franklin residents would get a warning on their first violation, and residents driving electric vehicles get 2 warnings at each location." Lucy says, "That's pretty cool. Motivate people to buy those electric vehicles. I wish we could adopt some of your programs." Angelina says, "Mitch never said we couldn't share. They were just ideas for us to use however we choose. We like the Barbuda Bucks program you have." Lucy says, "Would you consider offering your cable and internet service up the river to Oil City residents?" Angelina says, "I'm open to that idea, but I think the real focus should be direct democracy county-wide." Lucy says, "So, all of Venango County votes on what?" Angelina says, "If we expand our programs county-wide, we will build on Mitch's plan to incentivize travel to specific locations at a discounted rate using the e-currency Barbuda Bucks. We can work with local mayors and county commissioners to add other counties to the program. We let the people of Venango vote on what locations they want to add to the program in the future and reach out to those locations." Lucy says, "We let Mitch perfect direct democracy for local government in Pittsburgh and just allow people to vote on where they would travel in the next 5 years. Maybe a county in Colorado for people who like to snow ski, and a county in California for people that want to experience a Pacific beach." Angelina says, "Right. We already have an island on the program. We let people vote on the locations they may like to visit and lock them in for 10 years. For 5 years. Then after 5 years, we mix it all up again and choose totally new locations that people in this county can travel to at a discounted rate." Lucy says, "What happens to the counties we drop from the program?" Angelina says, "They already have the infrastructure for their own e-currency, so we make sure they are paired with a Caribbean island to offer Jamaican bucks and do the same thing Venango County is doing." Lucy says, "Right, our main focus is establishing populations of people that travel to the same locations regularly and are motivated not to diverge from those travel patterns. That way, if we have a major pandemic, these counties can reopen to travel sooner and the spread of the illness will be minimalized and easily traced." Angelina says, "Okay, let's meet and develop a plan to expand these programs and present it to the county commissioners. Then we can develop the site to allow people to enter forums about their dream travel locations and begin a voting process." Mitch is at Doc's farm looking at a map with Bonnie Tariff. The map is laid out on a table in one of the canvas tent set up at the back of the field. In the background can be heard U-5 helicopters buzzing around. Along Mill Creek, sparks fly as girders are being welded onto the new battery substation. A few electric line trucks with buckets are parked up at the farmhouse. Bonnie says, power enters this valley through these wires on these main arteries. We are going to put a switch at these points so that we can always revert to the main grid if this microgrid doesn't work out. Mitch says, we have the battery station here, and the windmills and solar panels will begin coming in the next month. Bonnie says, yes, we'll be packing up after this class completes its training. We are relocating to Bermuda. Mitch says, I'm glad the Pentagon has decided to invest more personnel to that island. So we'll have our own grid out here by the end of the year? Bonnie says, yes, and these switches will allow you to continue to buy electric from the major companies. Mitch says, how will the power be distributed? Bonnie says, we are installing smart transformers throughout Utica that are wired to your battery station. You will be able to run the microgrid from that battery station or remotely from your office in Pittsburgh. Most of it functions automatically. Mitch says, so when the batteries get low, the switches engage and we begin recharging using outside power. Bonnie says, right, the batteries will recharge and the smart transformers will divert power to individual customers. Mitch says, it's a shame you won't be around anymore, Bonnie. I think you will enjoy Barbuda, though. Bonnie says, do you mind if I ask you something personal? Mitch says, no, not at all. What do you got? Bonnie says, you've been hanging around all these female celebrities for several years now, and I was just wondering if any of them have ever hit on you. Mitch says, that's classified information. But you are more my type than any of those rich celebrities, Bonnie. Bonnie says, classified, huh? It's too bad you're married. Mitch says, it wouldn't work out anyway. I wouldn't date someone that I work with, and I'm counting on you to come on board when we start making hardware. Bonnie says, General Gall accelerated this program because you promised to produce prototypes before the end of the year. Mitch says, I plan to deliver on that promise. Barbuda is a better place for this program with the upcoming winter months closing in. I wouldn't mind starting with smart transformers and voting machines, but they want onboard computers for their equipment. A reporter from the Pittsburgh Tribune is sitting across the desk from Mitch in his office at headquarters. Mitch offers him a bottle of water and takes a sip from his mug. The reporter begins the interview. The reporter says, the election is Tuesday, and we wanted to get a few brief statements from the candidates for our election edition. Let's talk about your promise to set up a bulletin boards-like database through the city website. Mitch says, that is a proposal to keep better tabs on city workers like police. Whenever a citizen sees a city employee doing something unusual, they can post to the bulletin board, including the date and time of occurrence, what they saw, pictures of the incident, and possibly even some video. These items on the bulletin board will be mapped out on a city map, investigated and cross-referenced. Think of it as citizen review of city employees. The reporter says, do you look at this as a response to the Black Lives Matter movement? Mitch says, I think it is the right thing to do regardless of people protesting. I do think this bulletin database will improve the lives of black people in our city. Imagine someone is arrested and believes the arrest was handled incorrectly. This database will allow their lawyer to be able to search for witnesses easily and possibly even come up with video of the arrest. Rather than counting on social media to make an arrest go viral before a lawyer will take up the fight, citizens will now be able to find witnesses to their arrest themselves through a searchable database. This will ultimately keep our police honest and weed out those that abuse their power. The reporter says, you have sponsored the automation of traffic lights in the small town of Franklin. Do you believe that building an automated system of cameras is a good way to fight crime? Mitch says, I partnered with CBU for that project. They had already built one automated traffic light system in the Center Avenue and Baum Boulevard corridor to improve traffic flow. We just expanded the project to the size of an entire city. I do believe a citizen-reviewed system of cameras could be one possible way to fight crime in Pittsburgh. The DA is heavily invested in putting up cameras all over the city. This is an example of technology not being used in the best possible way first. The first place I would put cameras in this city is the open water reservoir that feeds our water supply. People are allowed to walk and play right along the edge of this reservoir. I am against a system of cameras all over the city that uses facial recognition, AI, and algorithms to monitor the people of Pittsburgh. If you are going to design a system like this, the only place it should be employed is at the reservoir. I want to know if someone even sneezes over the railing into the reservoir, let alone dumps something in the water. Any other camera system should be monitored by the public, not the government. The reporter says, do you worry at all about the birds using the reservoir as a bathroom? Mitch says, there is adequate filtration that occurs after water is taken from the reservoir to take care of that. But if someone did develop a motion detection camera system, maybe it could acquire these birds as targets. Then someone at a police station could verify the camera is looking at a duck in the crosshairs, and an air-powered pellet gun mounted to the camera could shoo the birds away. Again, I doubt any of this would happen, and it isn't a priority for my administration unless people make it a priority. All I am saying is that the first place I would have put cameras is the reservoir, not Main Street. The reporter says, you have developed your administration's official direct democracy voting website in preparation for your win. Residents of Pittsburgh are already registering to vote. Did you launch this site early to bypass the traditional election process and allow people to vote for you on your site? Mitch says, not at all. The election will not be fielded on the site. General elections will continue to be administered as they always have. Right now, it is a private site and not recognized by City Council. Once I am elected, we will begin voting and argue that the vote should be recognized by City Council. I would never try to supersede a legitimate method of voting in an effort to enact direct democracy. The reporter says that should be enough for our article. Good luck on Tuesday. Mitch says, Lucy Lowe walks down the gangplank of Brad Pitt's yacht and steps onto Barbuda soil. She saunters up a set of stairs and along a sidewalk. She follows a road into a large construction site. There are sections of road being connected into a long ovular racetrack. Pieces of machinery are creating the banked curves at either end. As Lucy walks to the middle of the track, showers of sparks fly not but 10 feet from where she is walking. The sparks are emitting from a shipping container that is being cut. There are roughly 100 shipping containers in the center of the racetrack. 20 of the containers have sparks flying from them as they are being converted to domiciles. Some of the shipping containers are complete and have ex-military people living in them. Lucy approaches a group of people that includes the governor of Antigua and Barbuda, Lowry Williamson. Lucy shakes hands with Lowry. Thanks for leasing the boys this land. Lowry says, no problem. It was formerly our landfill. What brings you to Barbuda? Lucy says, I wanted to get a look at this operation, and I wanted to meet with you. Lowry says, how can I help you? Lucy says, we are looking to expand the Barbuda Bucks program, and I wanted to see if you will work with your treasury to allow us to offer the e-currency to the entire county of Venango. Lowry says, as you know, this currency is an experiment for only the island of Barbuda. We have kept our original treasury system on Antigua. So far, the experiment is going well, and inflation is at a minimum. Part of that is due to all the Americans on this island putting U.S. dollars into our treasury. But there is a limit to how much a few hundred Americans can do for our fledgling currency. Do you really think an entire county can be rolled into the program? Lucy says, I do if we use the Blarty platform to continue to infuse your island with U.S. currency. Lowry says, what is your proposal? Lucy says, we can manage what people are able to use the e-currency for by specific markets. So right now in Oil City, people can use the Barbuda Bucks for groceries and other essentials. They can also use this money anywhere on the island of Barbuda. We would keep this the same for the county of Venango, but we would allow citizens of Barbuda to use the e-currency to rent properties in Venango County for vacation through the Blarty app. If Venango County residents want to rent a Blarty property on Barbuda, they must pay using U.S. currency. The hotels on Barbuda would still have to accept Barbuda Bucks, but individuals owning property would be receiving U.S. currency and converting it through your banks. Lowry says, I see. So a Barbuda citizen could make a trip to Venango County using our currency, and the only thing they would need to pay out of pocket for is alcohol and tobacco. Lucy says, that's right. I'm also prepared to receive Barbuda bucks for my new ride-sharing app called DD if your treasury is ready to work with me on it. In the next 5 years, we want to expand these travel programs to more counties throughout North America. It will bring ecotourism to your island and possibly make our new currency very powerful. Lowry says, I'll have the Treasury open the books to you and your people as soon as you can make the trip to Antigua. We have some citizens interested in leaving the island until all of this construction is over. Lucy says, I've used my ride-sharing app platform to organize with celebrities that are flying down to check out this project. We've scheduled a plane per week for the next several months, and they will fly into Venango County before heading to other destinations. Your citizens can book a flight with us using a special code on the website. I'll give your secretary the code to email out to the citizens of Barbuda. Thank you, Governor. Have you seen Brad? Lowry says, I believe he is over at the main garage complex behind the grandstand. Two men are looking at a computer screen with Mitch Miller on it. He is standing next to a welder who is cutting a square-shaped hole in the side of a shipping container. After the cut, Mitch says, now I'll show you how to install this prefab window in the side of the container. Lucy can hear the video playing as she walks by the two ex-military men building a shipping container house. She walks past the grandstand and over to the 30-bay garage complex. All of the bays are full of various older vehicles being converted to electric vehicles for different islands. Active duty military personnel are working on the cars. In one of the bays, she finds Brad, who is watching the conversion of a vehicle. Brad says, amazing, isn't it? Lucy says, thanks for letting me crash on your boat last night. Brad says, surprised you don't have one of your own. Lucy says, that may be in the future. Brad says, as you can see, we built this complex first so that the military that was deployed to the island would have somewhere to build these cars. Then they told their buddies who mustered out. And we had an influx of ex-military to the island looking for something to do. Thanks to our program with Volkswagen, we started getting in shipping containers and the equipment to convert them. The Pentagon has committed to providing every Barbuda resident that was displaced due to the storm a domicile of their own. In return, the military can have a presence on the island and continue to build electric vehicles and shipping container houses into the foreseeable future. Lucy says, and are we working on any programs to train Barbuda residents that may want to work on these projects? Brad says there are a handful of citizens working on the conversions, but most of them run independent businesses supplying this small army with what it needs. Lucy says, once we provide a house for every resident that wants one, we are in talks with the UN to provide homes to families in need in South America. I have an appointment on the main island tomorrow, and then I'm heading back to Venango. I had my doubts about bringing you celebrity men into the fold, but you guys really sunk a lot of capital into this project. I'll see you back in Pennsylvania. It is the night of the Pittsburgh mayoral election, and Mitch is gathered with his family at his home in Pittsburgh. Sienna Gunther and some other campaign staff are also gathered there. They are having cocktails and watching the television. Mitch's landline rings and he answers it. On the other end of the line is the incumbent, Bill Pedito. Bill says, most of the votes are in and I'm calling to concede to you. Congratulations on becoming mayor of Pittsburgh. Mitch says, I've always said I ran because I think I can do things better, not because I thought you were doing a bad job. If you would like to work in my administration, just tell me what position interests you. We'll rearrange some people to make it work. Bill says, thanks, Mitch. I'll take that into consideration. Mitch hangs up the phone and tells everyone the news. They erupt in clapping and cheers, and someone pops a bottle of champagne. Hillary hugs her husband and gives him a kiss. Their cat Zelda is hiding upstairs, but celebrates in her own way. Sienna says, Mitch, we have a podium set up on the front porch for you to do an acceptance speech. The news crews will be in place within 10 minutes. Mitch says, great, I'll go upstairs and get ready. Mitch comes out onto the front porch of his house where bright camera lights are set up and makes his way to the podium where a bundle of microphones are attached. He sets a sheet of paper down on the podium and clears his throat. His wife and Sienna are standing behind him on the porch. I'm not big on speeches, so I'll try to be brief. Maybe that's one of the reasons you elected me. Today is a great day for the city of Pittsburgh. It is a day that the world gets one step closer to governing itself. Today we get one step closer to direct democracy. For too long, the people have given the power to govern to mostly men that thought they knew what was best for us. Now we have the power to innovate and do what is best for the environment and equality. I believe that direct democracy will make us safer as a city and a nation. I believe it is the ultimate anti-terrorism strategy. Instead of invading other nations and attempting to set up the same old broken system of government we have had here in the United States for hundreds of years, we are setting up a true democracy right here in a U.S. city. I believe that those that hate the United States for being hypocrites will now look at us in a new light. They will look at us as a nation that delivers what it promises, democracy. I have received word that our class action lawsuit against the wireless companies has come to a decision. The court has found that wireless providers cannot charge those afflicted with mental illness and other disorders such as seizure disorders for their service. They must provide free service for these citizens. Furthermore, the court found that the citizens of Pittsburgh must grant permission to companies to broadcast radio or any other invisible spectrum waves within our airspace. The first order of business for the new voting site will be for each citizen to vote on whether they grant permission for wireless carriers to transmit signals in our city. If we deny them this permission, then they will have an option of providing free wireless service to every citizen in Pittsburgh. After this important vote, I will work with the City Council to allow the city to facilitate this voting website and use it for every law, ordinance, and budget the city passes. I want to thank you for your support in electing me mayor of Pittsburgh. A reporter says, if the city votes to deny wireless carriers permission to transmit in the city, would your plan include shutting down radio stations? Mitch says, radio stations have been transmitting waves for 100 years, providing free content. While I do believe that the presence of these waves leads to some of the afflictions listed in the suit, our focus is on the wireless carriers that devised a system whereby they could charge customers for use of these invisible waves. It is this system where customers are charged for each packet of information they transmit or receive through a wireless carrier that we are focused on eliminating or bringing to justice first. In the spirit of direct democracy, I think it would be interesting if these FM radio stations established a website where people could vote on the content being broadcast. I would not suggest mandating this change or any change to the AM/FM radio system at this time. The reporter says, how do you plan to regulate the wireless carriers? Mitch says, it's not regulation. It's flat-out refusal of permission to broadcast these waves. Therefore, the carriers will be left with an option. Shut down service within the city limits or charge businesses and those commuting from outside the city more for service within the city limits to cover the cost of providing free service for those that denied permission. Therefore, you cannot charge for a service that people do not want provided in their city until further research has been done by independent sources. Residents of Pittsburgh are exposed to a constant barrage of waves daily, unlike those that live in the suburbs where there may be a weaker signal and fewer radio stations available, therefore less waves being broadcast through their homes and bodies. And that's the end of Chapter 9. Before I get into my sponsors, I end each chapter by stating there are interesting ideas for businesses, patents, and technology startups or things that could be developed by existing technology companies. I've kept some ideas out of the book that I'd like to develop myself. One is a social media platform that I would like to start from the ground up and make season 3 of this podcast about starting a social media platform. It's a platform designed to fight misinformation on the internet. And if you'd like to receive a description of this social media platform, I can email it to you. I'm looking for computer science people to partner up with me. I've saved a sum of money that I can invest into the business side of this project, and I'm looking for computer science people to dedicate some of their time. They will be compensated when the social media platform becomes profitable. They will be compensated for all of their time, but I'm looking for partners to partner up on this project. And I'm also looking for investors. If you'd like to invest in a social media platform, you can contact me through the forums on either of my websites, plotm.com or mitchformayor.com. They connect to my email. I'd rather not list my email on my websites or on this podcast, but you can use the forum. Also, if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make about the book, I will field those and might have a couple extra episodes after the book is completed where I field those questions, comments, and I will keep you anonymous unless you would like to be mentioned on the podcast. That being said, we'll get to our sponsors. Are you looking for family camping at its best? Come to French Creek Farms in Utica, Pennsylvania. Located along the French Creek, you can kayak right into one of the many primitive campsites or stay at the trapper cabin or cottage. Are you looking to grab a drink in Utica, Pennsylvania while you're staying at the campground? Stop by Krabby Kelly's. Get your STDs at Krabby Kelly's. That's snacks, tobacco, and drinks. It's a general store and bar. Tell them Mitch sent you. Are you planning a trip to Incheon, South Korea? Why not stop by Liquor Burger? This establishment allows you to grab a burger and a mug of suds and enjoy great company and even play some darts. Stop by Liquor Burger today. Do you need a logo screen printed or embroidered on a garment of clothing? Look no further than 542 Prints. Go to 542prints.com to make contact and plan your design today. If you're looking for great outdoor video, look no further than Disability TV. Hikes have been captured, kayak trips, and bicycle trips have been captured on HD video using a GoPro and posted in playlists on Disability TV. Subscribe to Disability TV channel on YouTube by searching Disability TV. We're looking to start a collective or cooperative of disabled people that can take photographs of athletes at sporting events and possibly start a trading card company. Most venues that sporting events are held at are handicap accessible. So that means disabled people are the perfect people to be taking photographs at these events. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for Chapter 10.